It is the 200 level. Mike Carpenter in the basement studio on a rainy Thursday evening in Champaign. Didn't go to the game, decided to stay home, and that way I can flip immediately to the Ole Miss Miami semifinal, which is 17-13 score at halftime, so should be a good second half. Illinois is doing what a good team should do against a bad team. They are smoking Rutgers. They ended the half on a 20-0 run, and let's not bury part of the lead. Rutgers is awful. I mean, they're really, really bad. But I think what's encouraging about this game, and even back to the Missouri game, and now Missouri's won a couple games in a row against pretty decent teams. Illinois is starting to I think, put things together collectively. And if that means that the Nebraska game was this sort of galvanizing wake-up call in December, so be it. I would love to think that's the case, and that it was not necessarily a harbinger of future choke jobs at home, but more of okay, we got to stop messing around and we got to put this together. I never had any doubt about this team's talent level. I never had any doubt about their ability to score. I did have doubts about their defense. And while Rutgers is, again, really bad, you held a Big Ten team to 16 points on 20% shooting. They did not score in the last 8 minutes of regulation. As Michael, hello Michael, says in the chat thread, defense is so impressive. What a great defensive turnaround since Nebraska. It is a line of demarcation, and I know the sample size is small and the opponents haven't been good, but this team didn't have to respond this way, and they have. And that is even at a point where I don't think they're clicking on all cylinders yet. And the other thing that I have found interesting tonight, other than some of the usual suspects like Keaton Wagler being the stud that he is, Tomislav Ivisic had a rough start to this game. Missed 2 threes, had a guy get a rebound over him. But 6 points, 3 of 6 shooting, so he's 3 of 4 since. They've been easy looks. He's finished 3 of those 4 easy looks. A couple boards, 1 block, 1 steal. Are you starting to see him wake up? And if so, that is massive for this team. They have a little bit of a window here to still get things fully going before February. And the beauty of a game like this is that we can talk more macro and long term. I mean, there's not a whole lot in the way of play-by-play to do for tonight. I don't even know if we're going to go to the end of the game, because by the time we do, it'll probably be a 40-point margin. So this is, while it is a live second-half reaction, kind of an ability for us to talk about this team as they go through this winnable stretch. Iowa being the exception to that on Sunday, and good thing it's first thing in the morning. Hopefully I'm a happy Bears fan at that time. Sorry, Packers fans that listen, but I can't tell you how badly I want to beat your team on Saturday night. But Sunday morning is the biggest challenge over the next 5 games. This is an opportunity for this team to stack wins, to get right as they go into a much tougher early part of February, or I should say late January into early February. So we'll get into all that. We're going to look at KenPom and see what the projections kind of say for this team. But tonight will only help their KenPom ratings. I know, again, Rutgers is pretty low on those rankings. In fact, in KenPom, Rutgers is 154, which is somehow worse than Penn State, and only 100 clicks in front of Southern. But you, Illinois, 9th on KenPom, 3rd defensively, and all the way up to 20th defensively, are certainly looking the part of a team that is top 10 caliber. There are questions that remain. My questions will remain about whether this team can sustain that, because we've seen enough midseason stinkers in the Brad Underwood era. But the opportunities are there too. And I think this is actually the kind of game that has me optimistic for Iowa, because you get to sort of fine-tune things. You get an easy win where you don't have to expend a lot of energy before you go up to a tough environment on Sunday morning. And if I were to sit here right now and make a prediction, I think Illinois sneaks out a win Sunday. And we'll get to that in a bit. We're underway in the second half, if that really matters so much. But it is 43-16 with 19:51 to go. Rutgers ball. And I don't know how much play-by-play we'll do. They do hit a 3 to start this half. They did the same thing in the first half. So if you want to look at it another way, Rutgers scored 13 points in the last 19 minutes and 45 seconds of the first half. So that opening 3 does not concern me. But that said, you do want a continued effort from Illinois despite the margin, and be able around the 10-minute mark to say, okay, we really don't need to play a Keaton Wagler that much more, and Andrej Stojakovic, Kylan, and then maybe you continue to work on Tommy getting more into the groove. He does get a board here, but that's only after a foul from Keaton Wagler. All right, let's actually discuss. And for those that are in the chat thread, we got the game on. Not going to do a whole lot of play-by-play. We'll hit up the sponsors here at the first media timeout. But let's talk about this stretch of 5 games here. Penn State was the first of 6, but with 5 remaining, you got Rutgers tonight, doing what you need to do. At Iowa on Sunday. Northwestern next Wednesday. On the road, Minnesota at home on Saturday. It's an early game. Uh-oh. Thank God it's Minnesota. And then Maryland on the road, or at home, next Wednesday. Okay. The challenges here, or the potential potholes, of course, are at Iowa and Northwestern. At Iowa, on Ken Palm, is projected as a 73-72 win. They give you a 51% shot of winning. Why? Because Iowa is pretty good. 19th on Ken Palm. They are very efficient offensively and defensively. Ben McCollum, really good young coach. Bennett Sturtz, really good player. So there stands a chance of losing that game. However, you are still better than them, and I would like to think that it's the kind of game, and a 3 from Tommy, fantastic to see with 18:50 to go. I view it as the kind of game that is really the separator between, are you a 3 seed or a 4 seed? And I love the way that this game is playing out tonight, because you seem to be clicking on all cylinders without any sort of potential for an emotional hangover. I mean, I actually texted a friend that's at the game tonight, and I said, is it as quiet as it appears on TV? And I get it. I mean, it's okay, when you're a good program, to have the occasional night off as a fan. I'm not even wearing Illini garb tonight. I took my shower, and I was like, I'm just going to put on my comfy Nike attire. And Merkovich fouled before the 3, so it looks like he'll be on the 4. But it's okay to have these sleepy games. This is a sleepy game. If you're at the stadium right now, it's hard to really get into it. The crush isn't there anyway. Rutgers stinks. So it's kind of almost out of body to watch a game in which you're kicking this much butt and you aren't breaking a sweat as a fan. Instead, you're trying to project forward to the games that will get tougher and think, what is working for Illinois against a bad team that can work for them against a good team? Well, I think the key thing is this. I do think defense travels, and that won't be to the tune of Iowa scoring 16 points in the first half. But I do think it could be holding Iowa to 30. I don't think that necessarily you're going to out-rebound Iowa by 15, or God, I need to check the box score here, because I'm pretty sure that the spread is ridiculous on that. 28-15, okay. I don't think you're going to have that big of an advantage against Iowa rebounding, but can you out-rebound them by 7 or 8? Yeah, I think you could. I think there's enough of a size differential. I think there's enough of a skill differential that if you bring the defensive effort, the rest will take care of itself. So the consistency we've seen from this team against lesser competition since Nebraska, and that is Missouri, and yes, sorry, Missouri, I still think you're lesser than Southern, Penn State, and Rutgers. If it travels to Iowa in this way, it's not going to equate to a 15-point win, but it can equate to a 3 or 4-point win. And I would like to think this team is old enough and has enough moxie that they won't get shook or anything down the stretch. I mean, really, that has not been the problem in their losses this year. It's not as if they didn't have the mental fortitude late in games against Alabama, Connecticut, or Nebraska. They just didn't have the mental fortitude from the tip. Maybe less so Alabama. That was a game that you lost in the last 12 minutes. But positives tonight at the State Farm Center. There's 17:42 to go. We have Rutgers ball. They're still trailing by 26 points. Got a piece of that one. Illinois gets the ball back. And we're going to talk here after the sponsors about the individuals on this team, what we're really liking. I mean, Jake Davis with a fantastic game off the bench tonight. But really, your starters all seem to be kind of finding their roles within the 5 of them. And I want to single out a few of those guys as we go along. Again, what value is there in saying, okay, there's 17-11 to go, and Rutgers makes another 3. Actually, oh, crap. That is, what is that? They've scored 9 points in the first 3 minutes. They are smoking hot. I mentioned before, what I don't want to see is this team kind of tail off just because they have the big spread. It is a 23-point lead for Illinois. They were up 27 at half. So right now, Rutgers starting and makes another 3, makes this a 20-point game. I don't think that will make Brad Underwood too happy. But he is off the bench right now. So yeah, he is bringing in Ben Rickhouse and Jake Davis. It'll be interesting to see who he replaces and if it's trying to send a message or guys he would have put in anyway. All right, Keaton Wagler with the ball, 16:20 to go, kicks it out to Stojakovic. The 3 is up and good. Stops the bleeding there to bring the lead back to 23. You could look at the score and say this is not Illinois' most gaudy offensive performance, but the fact of the matter is they are shooting almost 50% from the field. They are shooting 37% from 3. It is an efficient performance, and this is a team that does not play with a lot of pace against a Rutgers team that doesn't play with a whole lot of pace either. So all things considered, if not the flashiest performance is going to get you to 100 points, you might still push 90 if you keep this pace, and that's really impressive, and I would assume would keep Illinois as the 3rd most efficient offense in the country. And an easy take there for Stojakovic. So Illinois gets all this right back. They're back up by almost, 25 with 15:35 to go. And I love how fast this game is going. One foul for Illinois this half, 2 for Rutgers. It is 8:46. We seem to be moving along so we can get back to the college football semifinal. Not that I'm preoccupied by that or anything, but yeah, a nice, easy game. So do me a favor. For those that are tuning into the YouTube, Twitter, I don't know if the Facebook stream is working or not, but for those that are, just hit me up with your thoughts on what you like so far and how much you think it might carry over as Illinois goes into Iowa City Sunday. And basically your confidence level as Illinois faces a much stiffer challenge up at Carver Hawkeye. All right, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, got to remind you that the 200 level is brought to you by Hamilton Walkers. Steak, seafood, and cocktails in the heart of downtown Champaign. Fantastic place for a pregame or postgame meal, date night, formal, informal. Hamilton Walkers is my personal favorite restaurant in town. We're really happy to have them as part of this podcast. And just a couple weeks ago, went there to get my twin petite 3-ounce fillets, medium, steak fries, family style side, old fashioned, bread with butter and herb butter, all made in-house, by the way. Caesar salad. You leave completely satisfied. It's like a warm blanket of restaurant goodness because of the way that they treat you, how good the food is. And it's one of those like once every couple months kind of place for me and my wife to hit up because it's just that good. So we appreciate Nathan and the staff at Hamilton Walkers in downtown Champaign. Tell them Carp sent you. You don't have to, but you can see my picture right behind the host stand, along with Lon, Trevor, and Harry from the Tay and Carp days. State Farm agent Brian Hansen online at brianismyguy.com for life, auto, home, business renters, you name it. Brian is my guy, and he can be your guy as well at brianismyguy.com. Saw him down at the Music City Bowl, and always great to run into him. We've been trusting him with our homeowners and auto insurance bundle for about 5 years now. So take it from me, take it from the Carpenter family. Brian Hansen is our guy, and he can be your guy too at brianismyguy.com. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend. Give them a call at 217-841-4728 and join their maintenance program. No overtime or weekend fees, guaranteed same-day service. And it includes an AC check in the spring and a furnace check in the fall. Not trying to speak too soon, but that AC check is closer than you might think. It's already January 8th. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, 217-841-4728. And finally, Owen Builders LLC, online at owenbuildersllc.com for your next home improvement project. Check out a gallery of their work online at owenbuildersllc.com. Luke and the staff, great craftsmen, of course, but what separates them is their ability to get back to you quick. They are excellent at communicating. Here's the timeline. Here's where we're going to get it done by. That's not always something that you get with contractors. So that is owenbuildersllc.com. Champagne Showers Podcast Network. Appreciate them and appreciate you, the listener and the viewer that's watching us live tonight. For those that are listening on Friday, again, this will be a bit more of an evergreen podcast as we look ahead with this Illinois schedule and try to project what we're seeing tonight and how well that bodes for this team going forward. Now, I've been talking for about 15 minutes straight. I'm going to give myself a wet my whistle for just a moment here. And we're back underway with 15 minutes to go and an easy take there. I believe that was Wagler. I had turned away ever so briefly. And don't worry, I will wax poetic about Keaton Wagler. Plenty tonight. Illinois is shooting right now 50% from the field and back to a 27-point lead with 14:45 to go. Rutgers on offense, looking for something, looking for anything. They take it down the lane. Illinois closes pretty well there. Good help. Almost get a steal. And no foul. Illinois playing physical, and the refs are swallowing their whistle, which I appreciate. Kylan gets called for a late reach, and he doesn't like that, and I don't like it either. You know what's frustrating about that is, and we'll watch this replay and see if he got the wrist. That's ridiculous. And what's so frustrating about that, he didn't really get hardly any of the hand. He got the ball first. So not a foul for one. Two, the kind of precedent that you're setting. Gosh, I don't know. What'd he get? 50-50. Did he get a little more hand than ball? Fine. I guess by the rule, the letter of the law, that is a foul. But it's that kind of inconsistency where you're getting body fouls. No. Body foul, no. Let him play. And then a hand foul. I guess it is what it is. And it looks like Tommy stepped over the line prematurely on the inbounds. We've gotten mostly good Tommy tonight. Let's watch this here. And he can't do that? Okay. You've gotten mostly good Tommy tonight. However, I still see these mental lapses that I don't think, what would that have to do with a sprained knee? Trying to be empathetic of the fact that coming back from knee injury, I got to thank my friend Matt, who actually had some knee issues. Trying to be empathetic towards that, but also trying to be realistic about the fact that you are a highly played semi-professional basketball player that is a huge cog on this team. That mental component, I think, it's got to be figured out. A three from Rutgers is missed, but they get their own board, and this has been a really bad minute here for Illinois. It is still a 23-point lead, but some sloppiness abound. And it was exacerbated there by just giving up a possession because Tommy put his foot across the inbound line. So Rutgers makes another shot. It is a 21-point game, and Rutgers has come alive. But more importantly, more frustratingly, while not asking for perfection from this Illinois team, keep your foot on the gas. And all you got to do that is not do dumb shit. I mean, that's really just it. Benham Rickhouse with a nice three from the corner, so offense continues to look pretty when they don't turn it over. I need to actually look up and see how many turnovers Illinois has had on the evening. It looks like only 5. Why does it feel like more than that? Have they all been in this half? How many turnovers were there in the first half? I'd have to think there's like 3 turnovers that we've seen so far in these first 5 minutes or so. Out of bounds, we'll go back to Illinois. Rutgers is just flailing around. And by the way, guys, you were witnessing part of the Steve Peichel farewell tour, I would imagine, because after he has 2 top 10 picks last year, does nothing with them. And now they just stink. It looks like he kind of, as Trevor said in the chat thread, sold the soul for 2 one-and-dones, and now they're trash. And it's sort of like a truncated or condensed version of what Bruce Weber had late in his career. You know, he kind of had the resurgence there in 08-09 with guys that made sense for Bruce Weber. And then he went for the Jeremy Richmonds, and he went for the better recruits, and then he just couldn't connect with them, and he didn't maximize what they had, and then he's gone. So this happened in a much shorter time frame for Steve Peichel, who had things going as far as Rutgers is concerned, but I think is on his way out. Now, Keaton Wagler draws the foul here with 12:32 to go. Let's run down the individual performances, and I think tonight is really highlighted kind of the individual roles of each of these guys on the team in really stark terms. And I think that's a good thing as this team goes forward. Not that they can't be malleable a little bit within their roles, but I think it's a good thing when you have starting 5, for example, this guy does this guy does this, and they're all good at these individual things. Let's just get this out of the way. Keaton Wagler is the best freshman I've ever seen at Illinois. And it's getting to be not even a debate. I think I mentioned this before, but Frank Williams, for example, was really good, but there were still those freshman growing pains. There were some rough moments. It was also the fact he was a redshirt freshman. D. Brown was explosive and a great counterpoint to what Brian Cook was doing inside. Darren Williams, it took him to late sophomore year to really click. And then it was, guns blazing from there. I don't know. Trying to think of other freshmen. I mean, my dad speaks of Ephraim Winters as a freshman, I know, but that's, not quite the same. I think he was just great at his role. Keaton Wagler is rocketing up NBA draft boards, and as he draws the contact and makes it. He's special. I hate we're only going to get him for 1 year. I love the fact that he's going to go to the NBA. He's going to succeed in the NBA. He's a superstar. And it's a good news, bad news proposition in a way. Good news in that we get to watch him, and he raises your ceiling, your floor and your ceiling. The bad news is it adds a little bit of pressure here because you got to make hay with a guy like this. And I know he's not the human cannonball that Terrence Shannon Jr. was. I know he's 18. I know that an NCAA tournament game could happen where he's a freshman, I guess. But I'm watching this guy, and it's not just that he's talented. It's that he has this incredible moxie and calm about him that just exudes winner. I want so badly for the team and the program, of course, to make a run in the tournament. But as we continue to watch Keaton Wagler do these things that I've seen no freshman do with this level of consistency, I want something to show for it. It's not going to be a Big Ten title in all likelihood. Big Ten tournament title, maybe. Fine. I still love those. I'm not going to poo-poo that. The way I view Big Ten tournament titles the way that some would view like a Music City Bowl or Citrus Bowl title. I want that. I know I'm not above rooting for that. But most of all, I want him to be part of a team that makes an NCAA tournament run. He's just that good. And what I would love for a one-year guy, forgive me for this. Carmelo Anthony. Can I say it? I'm going to say it. I know there's plenty of great freshmen, okay? We got Cameron Boozer for Duke. We got AJ Dibansa for BYU. But why not? Why not let the stars align? And why not let, if not a national title, Keaton Wagler is the guy that guides you, a freshman phenom that guides you to a Final Four. And that alone gets his jersey in the rafters. It's the kind of jersey you'd buy at Rally House or Game Day Spirit. His name stitched, all that. He would be an Illini legend immediately. And I just feel like, damn it, man, can't the stars align for this team with this stratospheric rise from a freshman like this, do something like that? Wouldn't that be amazing? And it's not impossible. Now, this will lead back to my mantra throughout the year. The importance, dare I say, necessity of getting a good NCAA tournament seed. And why a game like Iowa is more important, because that to me is like the difference between a 3 and a 4. What do you want to be? You want to be a 4 with that really tough second round matchup against a 5, or you want a little bit of an advantage by being a 3 against a 6. And then you don't have to play a 1 until the Elite 8 at the earliest. These things matter. So when I get a little bit antsy and when I get a little bit urgent during these regular season games, then you could say, well, come on, it's just one game out of 30. That's true. But if I want this vision of a Keaton Wagler-led team to make a deep run, I want every advantage in place for them to do just that. He's special. I mean, it is a joy to watch him play basketball. The dude just exudes basketball IQ. There is a natural, organic way to the way that he plays on the court that I just have never seen from a freshman here. And he's super skilled. And he's 6'6". And even though he looks skinny, the take that he had in the first half against whatever Rutgers guy was trying to body him up, boom, shoulder, boom, shoulder, finishes it and one. Pro move. And not the kind of pro move that, sometimes we scoff at as college basketball fans, because I don't watch the pro game that much, because it is not really until the playoffs do I find it particularly interesting, though the skill level is off the charts. But that's the kind of pro move that I grew up on in the 90s, where it was very kind of meat and potatoes, bust the shoulder in the guy, and use your body. And you look at him, he's not a twig, but he's certainly not bulky, and he's still getting this done. How? Insanely smart, insanely instinctive, and sneaky strong as well. There's a reason he will probably, at the end of the day, be a lottery pick. And this isn't hyperbole anymore. Every draft board has him at least 25 and up, most 20 plus. And do you have any doubt that he's going to continue doing this throughout the year? I don't. He would have had a slump of some kind by now. And he's had good games against really good teams. I think there was one game, maybe was it the Tennessee game where he was kind of quiet? Maybe the UConn game. He was kind of quiet. Okay, fine. One of those two, he was kind of off. Well, everything else has been pretty damn incredible. So that's my Keaton Wagler love fest. You're going to get that probably every podcast for the rest of the season, but I also don't want to lose sight of the fact that he is just that damn good. I would love for those in the chat thread to kind of start a discussion. If not Keaton Wagler, who was the best Illini freshman you've seen? I'm trying not to be short-sighted. I'm 39. I can't pretend to be as familiar with the early 80s. I know Bruce Douglas, I think, was good from the outset. I'm sure Eddie Johnson and Mark Smith were good from the outset. But this just seems to me like the most polished, and I hope, wouldn't it be great, by the end of it, accomplished freshman season in Illinois history. That would be my dream for this team, for this individual, and to really kind of secure his legacy, because it's possible. That's why we watch the games, and that's why there's this kind of extra onus on everything, because it is possible. We wouldn't get as fired up, and we would not get as into it if this team were just going to ho-hum make a tournament. We see it with our own eyes that they are capable of making a run and doing things. And it kind of starts and ends with the freshmen. That is a lot better than what we thought. The game is kind of slowing down to a snail's pace here with 9:25 to go. Illinois still up 23. Brad Underwood had called the timeout a little bit out of frustration there with the sloppiness. And while I don't love the sloppiness, I will say I don't hate it ahead of the Iowa game. To give you an example, there's the cliche of, teaching moments are always better after a win. And I think that you can couple a win, a sizable win, and not breaking too much of a sweat with, hey, that second half was BS. You can't do that anymore. So I don't hate this sloppiness now that I think about it. All right, a couple things here from World 964. Yakuchonis started out great, but flamed out, unfortunately. Through the Missouri game last year, I would have agreed, World 964, that KJ was kind of on that track. And then the arm thing happened, and he wasn't the same. And just too damn sloppy. A really kind of complicated legacy here. And trust me, he's a lot more likable than Matthew Meyer. And he was also a freshman. And Matthew Meyer was a senior. Give me a second here. I need to plug in my computer. I thought it was plugged in, but it's not. Okay. Battery was running low, and I was like, wow, that would be a really quick stream. Jacob says, is Wagler better than freshman Frank Williams or Deion Thomas? Boy, Deion was good from the outset, wasn't he? He was better than Frank Williams, Jacob. I can say that certifiably. It's funny with Deion, with Frank, because there was a game in his freshman year where he got a buzzer beater against Ohio State. And I remember thinking, well, that's really cool. I was at that game, and it felt like that was a big moment for him. But all that said, Frank and some of the things that could frustrate you about Frank Williams were much more prominent his freshman year. And his sophomore year was his peak, because what he did was he started to limit those mistakes and limit those off nights. His freshman year and the occasional game his junior year are what probably keeps Frank off of a lot of people's Mount Rushmore, despite the fact that Frank, with all his flaws, will always be one of my guys. So not Frank for sure. And then I'm looking at Deion Thomas's freshman stats. Not the stats are everything, but the 1990-91 Illinois team was a complicated year, wasn't it? I think they got 21-10, and they were ineligible. I'm trying to think. Did they make the NCAA tournament? Now the season ended with a 21-10 record. So that was part of the probation after the Bruce Pearl thing. 15.1 points per game, 6.8 rebounds per game. He was a really good big from the start. no doubt. I don't think he's as good as Wagler. And as you say, Michael, Frank didn't play as a freshman. It was a redshirt freshman because of Prop 48. So that was an academic ineligibility thing. So he was already on campus the year that Illinois went 3-13 in the Big Ten, made a run in the Big Ten tournament title game. But yeah, he was not part of that. So back to 65-40 for Illinois with 9 minutes to go. I can't for the life of me think of a better freshman that I've seen in Illinois. And now that we're in the month of January and it continues, I think it's something worth talking about and broaching. And I would love for that story to have a storybook finish of sorts for what we are seeing from him. Elsewhere with this team tonight, pull up the old box score, make sure I'm kind of being accurate about what these guys are doing. But I think that it's been a sneaky good night for Andrej Stojakovic. When you have a quiet 12 points on 4 or 5 shooting, 1 3-pointer made, and he's, 3 for 4 from the line, 7 boards. That's just really good stuff from a guy that I think is starting to really embrace that role as, okay, what do? I get to the rim because I can snake through with ease. And he does. He does that against Rutgers. He's done that against good teams this year too. So I don't worry about that continuing. I think that him finding that consistency is huge for this team. And if you really think about it, apart from that little dip that he had, I want to say the Tennessee game was his dip, and Keaton Wagler's was UConn, he's actually been really consistent. So Stojakovic continues to impress. Keaton Wagler, of course, 15-6. Not his most efficient shooting night, 5 of 12, but he is 4 for 4 from the line and just continues to do what he does. Kylan Boswell, quiet night, but you know what you get from Kylan in a way that you didn't last year until really the end of it. 7 points, 5 boards, 4 assists in 21 minutes. None of these guys are going to play crazy minutes with this lead tonight. So 3 for 6 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3. And that 1-3 looks so good. There's been a couple off-balance late shot clock that I don't put on him quite as much. So like what Kylan's going to give you. And I appreciate that. And that I love the fact that he gets to play off the ball this year. When he does have the ball, he can be aggressive when he wants to. It just has seemed to really free him up offensively. Murkovic quiet, but still a decent night. 5 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Tommy has 9. Not gaudy numbers, but 9 points on 4-7 shooting. And keep in mind, 4 or 5 after he missed his first 2. We'll take it and get him going again. So that's your starting 5, and you feel like the roles are pretty set. What I am most encouraged by is that your 3-man rotation off the bench seems to be pretty settled and pretty consistent. Jake Davis, great night for him, obviously. 12 points, 4-7 from 3. He is a 3-point shooting wing that comes off the bench, plays with energy. He's got you a couple rebounds. He plays decent enough defense. That's a role. He plays it admirably. 21 minutes for him tonight, too, much deserved. Benham Rickhouse. The stat sheet isn't there, but I continue to see him play good defense. He is 1 for 3 from 3. God, what is he shooting from 3 this year? I mean, this is just uncanny. 3-point shooting percentage is 33.9%. So almost 34%. So, I mean, you'll take that. And you're getting him taking less than he did as a starting 4, so that's all fine and good. All right, so Rutgers gets the ball after elongated review, because why not review a freaking out of bounds when it's a 25-point game? Jake Davis gets a board there. Johnny on the spot. Benham Rickhouse, 14 minutes, like I said, 3 points. But he still looks active. He still looks good. And Big Z with a quiet night, but you feel good about what he's done. You get Petro out there. I had a tweeter say, be easy on Petro. Because I guess in the last podcast, I criticized him because all he seems to do is run around. He's fast. I don't know what else he is other than really fast. He was fast tonight, and then he had 2 errant passes. When if he would have just hit the guys in the perimeter, they could have shot a 3. Instead, they got to reach for it. And then he goes for a layup and hits the front end of the rim. So I do not rescind my comments about Petrovic. Yeah, he had one good play, and I didn't give enough credit, apparently. I don't know what to tell you. The guy stinks. And it might be just right now or it might be forever, but he stinks. And he's not going to play very much because he couldn't even do jack against Rutgers. He'll get some garbage time here. And I would like to be able to give him some spot minutes when Keaton Wagler doesn't necessarily play 40 for you. But he's awful right now. And just as a sort of mission statement thing here, like, I'm not going to say Mihailo Petrovic is a bad person, but he's making money to play basketball. So I will say Mihailo Petrovic is playing bad basketball. That's just what it is. So I don't rescind my comments. He stinks right now. Brandon Lee getting a couple minutes, understanding that offensively he's limited. Fine. I still kind of want to see him get more, and maybe that's naive of me. But in the slog of the Big Ten and in getting him more reps as well, while maintaining a win now kind of mindset, I think he can give you something with that size. Find those spot minutes where you got 4 guys on the court, you feel good offensively, where he's not going to be necessarily productive offensively, but doesn't even be a black hole if he's only out there for a couple minutes. He's getting his couple minutes tonight. I just would like to see those spots filled in a little bit more. But then again, if Jake Davis is doing what he's doing, where are those spots? Because Brandon Lee is essentially a wing, and he would guard wings, and I just don't see that. So, I don't know. I kind of just contradicted myself there. All right. Let's see. We got a few comments in here in the thread. Michael Gerard agreed with my Keaton Wagler best freshman we've seen aesthetic. My aesthetic. What am I talking about? I'm speaking gibberish now. My Keaton Wagler best freshman proclamation. St. Dom's in the house. Always good to see St. Dom. And hello to all those. We got about 150 folks out there this evening watching and listening as we watch this shellacking of Rutgers. Oh, there we go, St. Dom. Carp, I'm addicted to Illinois football. I love Illinois basketball, but for some reason this season I don't have the same fire. I just can't get my hopes up under Brad. He will disappoint eventually. I'll get through the rest of St. Dom's and talk about this myself. Brad has had several NBA players. This is St. Dom. Io, Pods, TSJ, KJ, Will Riley. Brad will have NBA first round and second round draft picks and still lose to Penn State, Loyola, Nebraska, etc. All right, St. Dom, to your point, I wasn't super excited for the game tonight. I think that has more to do with Rutgers, and there's a college football semifinal that's on right now, and I really kind of want to get back to watching that, but not if I don't want to be here with you guys. But I understand where you're coming from, and I've spoken to that. I'll give you an example. Last night, Kentucky lost to Missouri. That's good news for Illinois, because if Missouri continues to win and somehow that turns into a quality win, even better for seeding. And they might. Dennis Gates might do what he did last year, which is have a really good SEC season. Kentucky is 17-18 against high major opponents under Mark Pope. 17-18. And at the risk of dredging up something that's ancient history in some ways, you got manhandled by them for most of that game last year in a game that was so winnable, and you looked like you didn't even want to be there. And there are a decent number of frustrations throughout Brad's tenure, and that's going to happen when you win a lot of games and you raise the expectations. Losses sting that much more. So that's a credit to Brad that they would sting that much in the first place. But I'll throw Kentucky in the mix as another one of those head-scratching, what the hell was that kind of games. And I knew it then, and I know it even more now, seeing that Mark Pope is a bust. Of course he is. So no, I don't trust Brad either. And there is, I think, equal chance that they disappoint in March as they succeed. And that goes for a lot of teams, but I think it's fair to say with Brad, there is a reluctance amongst the fan base because it feels like a bit of a rerun in some ways whenever the clock, or the calendar, I should say, turns to March. I'm not going to say you're wrong, St. Dom, and I'm also not going to say the people that love Brad Underwood are wrong either, because both things can be true. He can be a very successful coach that's won a lot of games, and you can be reluctant about what he's going to do when it comes to the NCAA tournament because the record would bear that out. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch these games. I'm going to root for the team. Do I have the same fire? No, I don't, St. Dom. I think it's coupled with the Brad Underwood experience and the portal era. The fact that I'm just getting to know these guys. Keaton Wagler is doing all this, and then he's going to be poof, gone. And he's not even a portal guy. So, in college sports in general, thank goodness the Brett Bielema had enough retention this year, and then it felt like the Music City Bowl was a kind of culmination of rebuilding this thing. And next year, it is going to be hard to latch as emotionally into that team because, Keaton Hauser, I'm excited, but I don't know the guy. So that's a long-winded way of saying, I guess, that I'm with you on not being as into it, not having the fire. The Nebraska game did a number on me because in one crashing instance on a snowy Saturday afternoon, I was reminded when I thought Illinois basketball was back. We figured it out. We beat Tennessee. We're going to come home after a nice long break and get the Saturday win against a good but not amazing Nebraska team who are still undefeated, by the way. But nonetheless, that did a number on me because it dredged up all the fears and anxieties I have of Brad Underwood. The season will go on, and until his teams don't do that, we will continue to fear that. And that's the reality of it. I know I'm not alone in that. What I'm trying to do throughout the rest of the season is be as even-keeled as I can, which is to say, yes, we're going to win a lot of games. A lot of that is due to Brad Underwood as a talent evaluator and a crewer of talent. And in some cases, the fact that he has a coaching staff, including his son, that have put together a super efficient offense. And now a defense that is top 20 in efficiency. So changes were made, or at least execution has gone up since that Nebraska game. And that's a credit to him. There's a possibility Brad Underwood figures it out this year, right now, and all the pieces come together and they make a Final Four. In which case, he is as accomplished as any Illinois basketball head coach in its history. Legit. Lou Henson, Brad Underwood. And Brad Underwood would have more banners through the Big Ten. But I get it synced down. It's one of those things that it's almost like we're in a holding pattern. And what I need to try to relieve myself of here is not just enjoying the games as they go along. And we got a 27-point lead against Rutgers. Still got the starters in. I would let's not do the Xavier Scott thing here. Let's think about maybe getting some of the scrubs in there. And if that means Rutgers brings it within 20, who cares? But 69-42. Looks like I missed when Illinois had it at 67. Darn the luck. Coming up on 5 minutes to go in this game. This is from World. It would be great if they start Jake Davis and turn him into a J.J. Redick when he was with Duke. I like Jake Davis, but J.J. Redick he is not. And I doubt that he will ever be the head coach of the Lakers after hosting a podcast. Maybe that means with my credentials, I can be an NBA coach too. Though in J.J. Redick's defense, he has them humming, I believe. So 69-44, Rutgers ball. 4:45 to go. We're just kind of running out the clock here. And a sleepy Illinois win. That's fine. You know what I like about this is that it's not taking egregiously long. And it seems like the refs are all too content to just let this thing kind of wind down. So Rutgers can just stop playing so hard. And for the love of God, Rutgers, just don't foul. Because they have 8 fouls and we only have 3. Don't foul, Rutgers. It is time to switch to the semifinal, though I believe Miami might be stretching that lead a little bit. Tommy misses the 3. Oh, no, Miami did not. So Mississippi ball 17-13. Come on, end this thing. 3-pointer for Rutgers is back to a 20-point game. So it's almost like, oh, great. Timeout from Steve Peichel. There are moments in college basketball games. I'm here with you right now, guys. I'm here with you right now talking. There are moments that I want to just chuck this remote at the TV. Steve, stop. You're not winning this game. You're down 20. We want to go home. We got a game to watch. Stop fouling. Don't foul. And that might come if they get within 12. Well, actually, if they get within 12, that'd be a problem. If they get within 15 with 3 to go, who knows? Maybe they'll start fouling. Don't call a timeout. You're down 20. The season's over. You're going to get fired. Can we just dispense of the pleasantries and just move on with the game? Sub 2-hour game would be great. And what I'd be interested to see here is after this timeout, will this count as the under 4 timeout? Or will this be an extra timeout? Because they go to immediate timeout of 4, guys. I'm cutting out of here. I love you all, but I'm cutting out of here. There's something, and you know this from watching this podcast. I get so when these things go longer than they should. College football being the worst culprit of that, of course, but sometimes college basketball. I got to wet my whistle here for a second. Give me a moment. All right, there we go. All right, well, let me do this then. As we have this timeout, I'll hit the sponsors one more time. Got to thank, of course, Hamilton Walkers in downtown Champaign. Steak, seafood, and spirits in the heart of downtown Champaign. Date night, pre-game, post-game meal, formal, informal. You can sit at the bar, the front area, which is really cool. Kind of like old 1920s, not speakeasy vibes, but it's got the kind of black and white tile on the floors. And then you go back to the dining room, very kind of like, wood covered walls. And oh God, they got these round booths along the wall. And I don't know about you, I love a good booth. I love to snuggle into a good booth. And they got the best. How's this? They got a lot of good things at Hamilton Walkers. I'm going to tell you they also have the best booths in Champaign-Urbana. The best booths in Champaign-Urbana. I don't know if Nathan wanted me to necessarily throw that in the ad copy, but it's the damn truth. Hamilton Walkers, downtown Champaign. Get there early enough, you might get a booth. State Farm agent Brian Hansen, online at brianismyguy.com. For life, auto, home, business, renters, you name it, Brian is my guy, and he can be your guy as well at brianismyguy.com. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend. Give them a call today at 217-841-4728 and join their maintenance program. That's no overtime or weekend fees and guaranteed same-day service with Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing. And finally, Owen Builders, LLC. For your next home improvement project, check out a gallery of their work online at owenbuildersllc.com. All right, guys, we are under 4 to go. Please, no media timeout, because then I'm going to cut on out of here. They had a stat that just showed up on the window, which is Illinois has the most 20-plus point wins in the Big Ten in the last year and a half. So back to the 2024-25 season. Makes sense. I'm trying to think last year. At Oregon, at Indiana. This game will be one of those. So that would be, well, maybe. Because right now it's a 20-point game. Illinois still has the starters in. And it's actually, funny. We've been having such a good time tonight. It's been kind of a bad second half, which I guess from a coaching perspective is good. And now I'm looking at this thinking, I don't think the offensive rating is going to go up on KenPom. Not that that's what ultimately matters, but I don't know if you're still going to be third. You're stuck on 69, which in some ways is nice. But you were on pace. You had 50 points a minute into this half. What the hell have you been doing? Keaton draws the foul. And here, this is the tricky thing, right? Brad is trying to send a message, and I respect that. You also want to not get some guys hurt. And we got, of course, Rutgers, just this big brawny guy who's basically like Cliff Omoruyi, Timu version of Cliff Omoruyi, or however he said his last name, who's just hammering down on Keaton Wagler, raining blows upon him. And it's like, damn. Okay, trying to send a message, fine. I don't know. That's a tricky balance. You got bigger fish to fry. And now we're reviewing. Guys, I can't do this. They're going to review this for flagrant. I love y'all, but I'm not staying around for this garbage. College basketball strikes again. I can't do it. I'm sorry. Can I? Should I? I feel like I sound like a basket case, maybe. But we're going to the booth. And maybe it's dirty. Maybe it's not. But why are we in this position? I don't know. Am I crazy to say just put him on the bench? Maybe send the message by, guys, you sucked ass in the second half. Sit on the bench. I'm going to put in 5 guys off the bench to finish this game. 1, don't risk injury. Common foul. They made that pretty quick, so we'll stick around. And 2, just, finish the game strong, please. All right. Before we get out of here, quick again, Iowa, Sunday morning, we'll be here for the second half. It is a big one. Goes without saying. Always nice to beat Iowa. Illinois, I believe, has not lost to Iowa at Iowa since 2020 on Super Bowl Sunday. I was trying to look back and think on that. They only played them once in the regular season in 2021, and that was the COVID-impacted basketball season. They beat them, Luka Garza, that Iowa team, on a Friday night at home, and they beat them in the Big Ten tournament. 2022, you won at Iowa in December. Alfonso Plummer with a big 3 to help seal the deal, and then you beat them at home to win the Big Ten championship. Nice. 2023, so the 24, the Meyer year. Man, did you lose at Iowa? I got to look this up here because I feel like you actually beat them in 2023 as well. Iowa, no, you did lose up there by 2. And that was as you started to kind of tail off there. You're 16-6 going into that game. You ended up finishing 20-13. So after that, you actually finished 6-7 the rest of the year. Tommy makes a 3, so that's good for him. 74-51 Illinois. We'll ride this out. God dang it. So you have lost to Iowa in the last couple of years, but you did win there again. Smoked him, actually, the Terrence Shannon Jr. year. I mean, not smoked him, but controlled that game. 73-61. And then last year, you did not play at Iowa. Just played him at home. All right, so offensive foul on Rutgers. Oh. In fairness, this game's going to be under 2 hours. 9:23. And I'm pretty sure this started 7:37. You might be wondering, why am I so anal retentive about the length of these games? That's a fair question. I think the older I get, I'm just turning in. I'm trying to be jovial about it, but I turn into this sort of curmudgeonly, old man yelling at cloud. I'll be 40 this year. So maybe I'm just really adopting the old man yells at cloud aesthetic as early as I possibly can. 3-pointer attempt from David Mirkovic is up and good. Illinois trying to stretch this lead a little bit with 1:35 to go. So the starters remained in, and I think as long as they stay healthy, hopefully message sent, whatever message Brad was wanting to convey. And maybe that Ken Palm offensive rating will stay nice and high after this one here. Rutgers still trying hard here and up and in. 77-53. They suck. I mean, dear God. There's a lot of bad in the Big Ten this year. And I think Illinois will make hay with that. They have not lost to a bad team yet. I mean, that is in fairness to this team. Their losses are to teams that have a combined, Alabama's 11-4. You should have won that game, doggone it. Connecticut is 15-1, and Nebraska is 15-0. So let me count that real quick. The record of the teams you've lost to, they are a combined 49-5. You haven't lost anyone bad yet. I don't think this team will lose to many bad teams. I guess it's just about margins for net rating and a foul on Rutgers. Oh, my God. Rutgers, can you just, we aren't trying to score. And now Brandon Lee's going to go to the line, so we get to see something new. Okay, that's exciting. Minute 03 to go. Brandon Lee at the line. Listen, on a game like tonight, you're just looking for any bit of excitement. Brandon Lee wears number 1. So I got this orange script Illinois jersey with number 1 on it. So technically, even though his name's not on it, I am rocking a Brandon Lee jersey. And I would love to see him develop, because sometimes when you just, for whatever reason, identify and say, that's my guy. And it was the exhibition game way early this year that I said, that's my guy, Brandon Lee. He makes both. So until he transfers out, Brandon Lee is my guy. I'm going to root for him to become a dude. 79-53 with 53 seconds to go. Rutgers running some offense. I mean, don't foul. Oh. But it's not bonus, so it's not going to slow it up too much. Let's, guys, expedite this. Let's go. Wow, they got a guy on Rutgers who's got 3 accents on his name. Very European, this one. All right, Rutgers with 45 seconds to go, looking for some action here offensively. Yeah, I don't know. What a fall for them. Remember the Paul Mulcahy era and the fact that Rutgers made an NCAA tournament or two, and now they're just awful. But you did what you should against an awful team. Illinois will try to dribble this out and knocked out of bounds. Blake Fagbemi is out there. Recall, if you will, that Brad Underwood said before the first exhibition game of the year that Blake Fagbemi was the most athletic guy, pound for pound, I believe he's ever seen play for one of his teams. Illinois turns the ball over. We are limping to the finish line. Please, God, don't review this. I will. Don't review this. Let it be. Brad's fighting for that it was tipped. Don't review this. Please take Old Yeller out to the shed, guys. Let's go. Let's just wrap this baby. Okay, they're reviewing it. So I tell you what, have a great rest of your night. I can't do this, but Illinois is going to win by something like 79-55 as they review whether or not it was tipped. Thanks to the sponsors again, Hamilton Walkers, Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend. State Farm agent Brian Hansen online at brianismyguy.com. And, oh, gosh. I'm sorry, Luke. I just had a brain fart there. OwenBuildersLLC.com. Check out a gallery of their work. Get a free quote while you're there at OwenBuildersLLC.com. Time to go watch the college football semifinal. And you guys enjoy this replay here. But thank you for tuning in. On your way out, if you can like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Appreciate it. And for those listening the day after, hope this evergreen conversation was interesting to you. And we'll be back Sunday morning or Sunday around lunchtime for the second half of Illinois and Iowa. We'll get some football talk next week as Illinois hitting the portal pretty hard and doing some pretty cool things, I think, in there as well. And we will see y'all soon. It is the 200 level.